My name's Ed Fairfield. I'm Commercial Director at Elementary Technology. I'm also, and I haven't said this yet, I'm also Vice Chair of a charity called Naace, the Ed Tech Association, and which is really interesting to give a different perspective on technology for education. I'm also a school governor, overseeing computing and teacher well-being, which is interesting. Far too many schools don't know how to get the best from technology, unfortunately. So particularly the local authority primary schools, there are 10,000 of those, so they don't have the safety net of a multi-academy trust, for example. They often don't have the expertise in-house. So a head teacher, often it might be one of the teachers is kind of de facto IT coordinator just because it's something they enjoy. And they don't have anywhere to turn for training, for advice. So AI in education, loads of people are talking about it. Some are powering ahead, doing great things with it, and others barely know what it is. And there's no provision for a lot of the schools really to help them, give them the knowledge and skills they need to use technology properly, which is it's heartbreaking. It's a shame because it means thousands of teachers and tens of thousands of pupils are missing out. If a school comes to somewhere like BET, for example, they think they might know what they want, and they go and talk to lots of different suppliers who they hope and think can help them with their need, whatever that might be. But often, because there's a sales motive, of course, with a supplier, there's bias inherent into what they're saying. So a teacher or a head teacher, decision maker, business manager can go away feeling more bewildered, more confused than ever, because they're being given different sets of potentially conflicting information, and they walk away full of gaps in what they think they know and what they think they need to know and what they don't know, and they don't know what they don't know, and then it can be more confusing than ever. In terms of making an informed choice, it's really important to find and make time and to work with a supplier or a partner or an advisor who knows what they're doing and has the independent experience and expertise to give them kind of warts and all advice on where they are now, where they want to be, and what they need to achieve that. I think most schools aren't fully confident in a decision they make before they make it. And that's about time and it's about expertise. So any mechanism, usually a multi-academy trust nowadays, anything that can help them overcome that is gold dust for a school. It's a challenge that remains in most schools, and there isn't really an end in sight to it. The challenge with whiteboards, for example, or interactive touchscreens, interactive flat panels, the technology has advanced so much compared to what the majority of schools have in place that they don't know what they're missing out on usually. They don't know what good looks like. So what they perceive they want is usually only a little bit better than what they've got. And they'll think, it's a bit better, I can see it really clearly, it's brilliant, I'm going to go for that. But what they haven't considered is what other opportunities there are. And that's because either they haven't got the time or made the time, or because they haven't got the expertise or the advice to tell them what's available. So they'll go ahead and buy something that probably is better than what they've got, but probably isn't fully fit for purpose, whether that's down to compatibility, or whether it's down to the training provision they get, or whether it's down to being equitable and equal among different sites and different classrooms. There's usually something that they haven't properly accounted for, which means they're not really getting the best solution, which is a challenge for the sector and for suppliers and for the schools. I talk about planning, choosing, buying, using, and that's the ideal journey that a school should take when they're investing in technology. They need to understand where they are now and where they want to go before they even think about what they need and before they even think about buying it. But what most schools do, they jump straight to buying. They think they want something and they go and look into it and they buy it. And what they fail to account for is the planning, the informed decision and the training, the using. Because it's a transactional sales model usually, they buy it and for them, for the school, it's the end of the beginning after it's installed, but for the supplier, they think they've done their job, they've sold it and it's the end. But it's actually the beginning of the journey for the school, because the teachers have to learn how to use it, the IT team have to learn how to manage it, and there isn't really enough provision for that, which is a shame. It's a massive gap, which is why elementary technology, for example, we work hard to invest in proper ongoing training for curriculum leaders, for IT managers, to make sure that the schools are getting best value out of what is a really expensive bit of tech. Audio technology is underutilised at the moment, so audio visual, the clue's in the name, AV, there's massive focus on visual, particularly at the BET show here. Audio is underrepresented, it's misunderstood, and there's only some niche bits of tech that tap into the need for audio. So there's lots of scientific evidence in the classroom that young people's hearing, for example, isn't as well developed as adults. So as a young pupil in a classroom, I'm using quite a lot of brain power to listen, to hear. I'm then using a lot of brain power to learn and retain, and then to understand, and then to actually memorize and use in the future. So quite quickly I'm running out of brain power because I'm using so much to try and listen. So any tech that can help reinforce the teacher's voice is really invaluable for the pupil, because it means that they're using less brain power on the listening and more on the learning. And it's not widely understood, there's not enough investment in it from a school point of view, because it's something that isn't deemed as required. The other element of audio is for inclusion and for pupils who have hearing impairments, for example, or pupils where English is an additional language. So there's an extra element for those, because they're live translating. Well, first of all, they're listening, then they're translating, then they're learning, and then they're retaining, and then they're recalling. They can't cope with that. So anything that can help them from an audio perspective is really useful. Yeah. Buying technology in education is really complicated, really fragmented, more than ever now with multi-academy trusts, because you've got different roles with different agendas. So the CEO, the CFO, the Learning Development Director, Head of Digital Learning, School Improvement Manager, all the way down to the senior leaders of school and the teacher and the IT department. They all have their own fragmented priorities. So if you talk to one stakeholder about what they think they need, and if you talk to another stakeholder in the same organisation about what they think they need, they're going to come up with completely different answers. And it's a challenge from a decision maker's point of view to try and reconcile probably 5 different stakeholders and think, right, based on all this information, based on all these needs, based on all these countless solutions available, how do we choose? and it's often an impossible answer, and it's a challenge. So again, it relies on a supplier, I think, an independent supplier, to try and help the school account for all those different points of view, give them all the information they need about all the different options to make sure they are fully confident in the choice they're making. I think that's incumbent on the supplier to provide that information before the buyer decides what they want to go with. And that doesn't happen often enough. Yeah. What I've learned from having different perspectives is that lots of different people have different opinions and different challenges and different needs with technology. And unfortunately, most stakeholders don't know what they don't know. And it's a massive challenge for bet show for a group of suppliers to try and help schools navigate their way through it, because it's incredibly complicated as a whole, as a technology. But then you divide it into audio, into cloud management, into school improvement tools, into management information systems, teaching for technology, safeguarding technology. Every single one in isolation is complicated. And what I've learned is that it's a big challenge for the sector to help education navigate their way through that. In these times of tight budgets, every penny counts for a school, and it's really important that they're given the information they need to make the right choice.